10 psychological ways to defeat procrastination. Picture this. You wake up, you have a plan. You know exactly what needs to happen today. Maybe it is a project you have been putting off for weeks. Maybe it is a difficult conversation you keep rescheduling in your head. Maybe it is just that one task sitting on your list with a little star next to it, silently judging you. And yet, somehow, 3 hours disappear. The coffee goes cold. The phone is still in your hand. The task is untouched. And in its place, there is that feeling. Not guilt exactly, more like a quiet, heavy fog sitting on your chest. You have been here before. We all have. But here is what I want you to understand before this video goes any further. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It is not proof that you are lazy or broken or destined to fail. It is a pattern, a deeply human, deeply understandable pattern. And patterns can be changed. Today we are going to look at 10 psychological and philosophical ways to break it, not with vague advice, but with real tools, real science, and real wisdom that you can start using the moment this video ends. Let us get into it. 1. Understand what you are actually avoiding. Before you can fix a problem, you have to know what the problem actually is. And most people have the wrong diagnosis. They think procrastination is about time. They think, if I just had better time management, a better schedule, a better app, I would stop putting things off. But psychologist Dr. Timothy Pitchell, who spent over 20 years studying procrastination at Carleton University, found something that changes everything. He found that procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotion management problem. Think about it this way. Imagine you have 2 tasks today. One is scrolling through videos on your phone. The other is writing a report you are not sure you can do well. Both take time. But you only procrastinate on one of them. Why? Because one of them feels bad. One of them carries anxiety, self-doubt, or the fear of failure along with it. And your brain, trying to protect you, flinches away from that feeling. So the real question is never, why am I not managing my time? The real question is, what emotion am I avoiding right now? Is it the fear of not being good enough? The fear of being judged? The discomfort of not knowing where to begin? The moment you can name the emotion honestly, you weaken its grip on you. Psychologists call this labeling, and studies show that simply naming what you feel activates the rational part of your brain and reduces the emotional charge almost immediately. So before anything else, before any system or strategy, just ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of right now? That one question is the beginning of everything. 2. Stop fighting your brain, design around it. Here is something most motivational content will never tell you. Willpower is a terrible strategy. Not because you are weak, but because willpower is a biological resource. It runs out. Neuroscientist Dr. Robert Sapolsky has shown that the part of the brain responsible for discipline and long-term thinking, the prefrontal cortex, gets weaker the more demands you place on it throughout the day. By evening, after dozens of decisions, your resistance to distraction is a fraction of what it was in the morning. So what do? You stop trying to overpower your environment with willpower, and you start designing your environment so that the right action is the easiest action. Think of it like water. Water does not try hard to flow downhill. It just does, because that is the path of least resistance. Behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg spent years studying habit formation and found that the most reliable way to change behavior is not motivation. It is making the desired behavior easier to start than the alternative. Practically, put your phone in another room when you need to focus. Open the document before you go to sleep, so it is the first thing you see in the morning. Remove the apps that swallow your time.
Set out what you need the night before. Do not rely on the future version of yourself to make the right choice under pressure. Remove the pressure. Design the path. The Stoics called this praxis, structuring your outer world to serve your inner intentions. 3. Shrink the task until it cannot be refused. One of the cruelest lies procrastination tells us is this: you have to do all of it, right now, perfectly, or not at all. And because the whole thing feels overwhelming, the brain stalls. It cannot find a safe place to begin, so it does not begin at all. The psychological term for this is task aversion. When the size or complexity of a task triggers such a strong avoidance response that even thinking about starting it feels exhausting. And the antidote, as counterintuitive as it sounds, is to make the task absurdly small. Not the whole report.
The first sentence, not the full workout. Put on the shoes. Not the entire conversation. Just send one text saying you want to talk. Not the whole chapter. One paragraph. Just one. William James, one of the founding fathers of American psychology, wrote that the greatest revolution of his generation was the discovery that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. What he meant is this: action does not follow motivation. Motivation follows action. You do not wait to feel ready to begin. You begin, and readiness arrives shortly after. Scientists call this the Zeigarnik effect. The brain has a natural drive to complete things it has already started. Once you begin, no matter how small the beginning, your mind gets invested. It wants to finish. That is your biology working for you, not against you. So shrink it, make it laughably small, then start there. 4. Use the power of identity, not just goals. Most people try to beat procrastination by setting a goal. I will finish this by Friday. I will exercise 3 times this week. I will finally start that business. But goals, on their own, are fragile, because a goal is about something you want to achieve. And the moment you miss it once, the guilt of that missed goal actually increases avoidance. The gap between where you are and where you said you would be starts to feel so large that giving up begins to seem rational. Author James Clear, in his work on behavioral change, made a distinction that is quietly revolutionary. He said the most durable changes do not come from goal setting. They come from identity shifting. The question is not, what do I want to achieve? The question is, who am I becoming? Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. James Clear. Think about what that means practically. Instead of saying, I am trying to write more, you say, I am a writer. Instead of, I am trying to exercise, you say, I am someone who takes care of their body. The moment that identity becomes real to you, even a little, your actions start to follow it. Not because you are forcing yourself, but because you are being yourself. The Stoics spoke about this as living in accordance with your nature, your highest, most intentional nature, not the self that scrolls for 2 hours and then feels terrible about it. The self you have decided to be. Start voting for that person today, one small action at a time. 5. Use time limits, not time blocks. There is a reason why school exams feel more productive than a free afternoon. Constraint focuses the mind. When time is unlimited, work expands to fill it, or more accurately, avoidance expands to fill it. Parkinson's law, coined by British historian Cyril Northcote Parkinson, states simply, work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself all day to write one email, it will somehow take all day. If you give yourself 20 minutes, you will write it in 20 minutes. The psychological technique that works best here is called time boxing, giving a task a strict, short window
rather than an open-ended slot. 45 minutes of focused work followed by a 15-minute break. Not 2 hours of vague intention followed by guilt. Italian consultant Francesco Cirillo developed the Pomodoro technique based on exactly this principle. 25 minutes of pure focus, then a short break. His research, and the research of hundreds of productivity scientists since, confirms that the human brain works best in focused sprints, not long, unbroken marathons. There is also something deeply stoic about this. The Stoics were obsessed with the present moment, not the whole project, not the entire future. This hour, this task, this sitting. That is all you have to manage. The rest will come. Set the timer. Close everything else. Give it 45 minutes. You will be amazed what happens when the clock is running. 6. Talk to yourself like a coach, not a critic. There is a voice inside most procrastinators that sounds something like this. Why are you like this? You always do this. You said you would change, and you did not. You are never going to figure this out. And here is the painful irony of that voice. It makes everything worse. Not better, worse. Dr. Kristen Neff, a psychologist at the University of Texas who has spent 2 decades researching self-compassion, found that people who respond to their own failures with harsh self-criticism are actually more likely to procrastinate again, not less. Because shame and self-judgment trigger the same emotional avoidance response that caused the procrastination in the first place. The inner critic does not build discipline. It builds a deeper hole. Now contrast that voice with the voice of a good coach. A good coach does not pretend the failure did not happen. They say, yes, that did not go well. Here is what we are going to do differently. Let us go again.
That shift from critic to coach is not softness, it is strategy. Research consistently shows that people who extend self-compassion to themselves after failure recover faster, maintain higher motivation, and are more honest about their mistakes because they are not afraid that honesty will destroy them. The Stoics practiced this too. They would review their day each evening, not to punish themselves for what went wrong, but to understand it clearly and prepare better for the next one. Not cruelty, clarity. So when you fall back into the loop, and sometimes you will, the first words out of your mouth to yourself should not be, "What is wrong with me?" They should be, "Okay, I see what happened. What am I doing next?" 7. Visualize the obstacle, not just the dream. Here is something that might surprise you. Purely positive thinking can actually make you procrastinate more. Psychologist Gabrielle Oettingen at New York University spent years testing the effect of positive visualization on goal achievement. What she found went against everything the self-help industry had been saying for decades. People who only imagined the positive outcome, how good it would feel to have finished, how proud they would be, were actually less likely to achieve their goal. The brain, it turns out, can sometimes confuse imagining success with actually achieving it. The emotional reward fires without the work being done. But here is what works. She developed a method called WOOP: Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. You visualize the goal and the good feeling it brings, and then you honestly picture what will try to stop you. Not in a pessimistic way, in a prepared way. Imagine you want to start working on that project tonight. Positive visualization says, picture how amazing it will feel when it is done. WOOP says, picture that, and then ask yourself, what is going to get in the way? Maybe it is the couch. Maybe it is the notification that comes in at 7. Maybe it is the feeling of not knowing where to start. Then you make a specific plan for that obstacle. If the notification comes in, I will put my phone in the bedroom. If I feel lost, I will start with just the outline. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of difficulty. They believed that the person who has already prepared mentally for the obstacle is the person who steps over it calmly. The unprepared person is the one who stops and concludes that the obstacle means they should quit. Dream about where you are going, but prepare for what will try to stop you. Both. 8. Let the discomfort be there and move anyway. This one is perhaps the most important of all. Most of the strategies we have talked about so far are about reducing the discomfort around action, making the task smaller, designing the environment, using time boxes, and those things work. But there is something even deeper that changes everything long-term, and it is this: learning to move while the discomfort is still there. Psychologist Stephen Hayes, who developed a framework called acceptance and commitment therapy, found that the most psychologically flexible people are not the ones who feel no fear or resistance. They are the ones who feel it and act anyway. They have learned not to treat discomfort as a stop sign. They treat it as weather. It is there. It is real. It does not have to control the next 5 seconds. Think about learning to swim. At some point, you have to get into the water. No amount of standing at the edge thinking about swimming will teach you to swim. The discomfort of the cold water is real. You do it anyway, and after a few minutes, you forget it was cold. The Stoics called this amor fati, love of what is required. Not merely tolerating difficulty, but understanding that difficulty is the very thing that builds the person you want to become. Easy things do not build character. Hard things do. And the procrastinating mind is, at its core, trying to build character without doing hard things. It does not work. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Joseph Campbell. The cave is uncomfortable. It is dark and uncertain. But everyone who has walked out the other side will tell you the same thing. The discomfort was never as bad as the imagining of it. The anticipation is always worse than the act. Feel the resistance. Take the next step anyway. That is where freedom lives. 9. Remember that time is not refundable. Let me ask you something. If someone walked up to you today and stole 2 hours from your wallet, you would be furious. You would want it back. But 2 hours spent scrolling through content you do not even remember, 2 hours that drifted away in a fog of avoidance, those hours leave quietly, and somehow we do not grieve them the same. We should. The Stoics practiced something called memento mori, which translates roughly as, remember that you will die. And before you close the video, hear me out.
This is not dark. This is clarifying. The person who honestly remembers that their time is finite stops treating it like it is infinite. They stop saying, I will do it eventually, and start asking, what am I doing with this specific day? Steve Jobs said in a 2005 commencement address that reminding himself each morning that he would one day die was the single most important tool he had for making decisions with clarity. When you hold your mortality gently in mind, he said, the things that are truly important become obvious, and almost everything else falls away. This is not meant to create anxiety. It is meant to create urgency about the right things. The project you keep delaying matters. The relationship you keep meaning to invest in matters. The version of yourself you keep saying you will become one day, that matters. One day is not a day of the week. It has to be today. Not every hour of today, but some honest, intentional piece of today. Time is the one currency you cannot earn back. Spend some of it on purpose. 10. Build the system, not just the resolution. Every January, millions of people make resolutions, and by February, most of those resolutions are gone. Not because the people were weak, but because resolutions rely on motivation. And motivation, as we have established, is unreliable. It rises and falls with mood, energy, circumstance, and 100 things you cannot control. The Stoics did not trust motivation. They trusted systems. They built their days around fixed rituals, morning reflection, evening review, structured physical practice. Not because they always felt like doing these things, but because they had decided in advance what kind of person they were going to be. The system kept that decision alive, even on the days the feeling was not there. James Clear captured it perfectly when he wrote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." Here is what that means in real life. Instead of saying, "I am going to start being more productive," you design a specific, repeatable structure. You decide, "I write for 45 minutes every morning before I check my phone. I review my 3 most important tasks the night before. I protect the first hour of my day from distraction." You do not do this because you are inspired. You do it because it is Tuesday, and on Tuesday, this is what you do. Psychologist Angela Duckworth, who spent decades studying high achievers, found that the thing separating exceptional performers from everyone else was not talent. It was not even intensity of motivation. It was consistency. Showing up on the average days, the unremarkable Tuesdays, the slow mornings, the days when nothing felt meaningful, but they did the work anyway. Build the system. Make it simple enough that you can follow it even when you are tired. Then follow it, especially when you do not feel like it. Because the feeling will come after. It almost always does. Finally, the choice waiting for you right now. 10 ways, each one grounded in real psychology, real philosophy, and real human experience. Name the emotion you are avoiding. Design your environment. Start absurdly small. Vote for your identity. Use time constraints. Coach yourself instead of criticizing yourself. Prepare for the obstacle. Move through the discomfort. Honor your time. Build the system. None of these require you to become a different person overnight. None of them demand that you wake up motivated every morning or that you never fall back into the loop. They require only one thing, that you try one of them today. Just one. Right now, before this video is even over. Because here is the truth that every philosopher and psychologist in this video was pointing toward in their own way. The life you want is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to begin. The task is still there. The time is still yours. The version of you that does not procrastinate is not some distant future self. It is you, the moment you decide to take the next step. Take it. If this video helped you, share it with someone who is stuck right now. Subscribe to Stoic Mindset for more content like this, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 10 ways you are going to try first. I read every single one. See you in the next one.